I just want to make a little critique of the standing press as an exercise for building your shoulders. And first of all, I want to say that it is a great movement. So don't get me wrong. It's not. I'm not saying don't do the standing press. Not at all. But I have some issues with it, and basically it comes down to stability. So you need a lot of stability because you have to imagine you're pressing from up here, and everything below has to be extremely tight, or you're gonna bleed power. You're just gonna lose every little bit of movement beneath your shoulders is gonna cost you gains, and and getting that stability can be extremely hard and pretty difficult, especially if the weights get heavier. Like if you're just moving 100 pounds or something, it's not an issue, but the heavier or the more weight you're moving, the harder it gets to really be stable. And I think that's one of the reasons why it's such a stubborn movement and why it tends to stall really really quickly. Yeah, it's just that the weight goes up, and you have some weak link in your body, and you should train your core, and we should all train our legs and lower back and everything, but especially for some reason you're not training your legs as much maybe, which I have been in the past, which I have a good reasons for, but then you're gonna be limited by the stability you can create with those body parts and those muscle groups, and it's gonna mess up your shoulder development. So I think that's one reason why it's not tends to stall a lot. And there's obviously that's also a pro. Like stability is a pro and a con. Like you're obviously working a lot more muscles that way, so it's a full body movement really. But again, potentially at the expense of your shoulders. So, and that's why I found seated movements, just seated dumbbell press, for example, or seated shoulder press, it tends to be a lot easier to make progress and to progressively overload, because you can if you're doing a seated dumbbell press, for example, you can really press yourself against the bench, and there's just no movement at all, and all your pressing power is gonna come from your shoulders, and you're not gonna bleed power anywhere. Compare that to standing upright and having your torso and you're gonna have some movement in your body, and it's inevitable. And maybe you have a little bit more movement there, then it's really gonna cost you, and it's gonna be more hard to progress. And I mean, kind of I don't know if it's a good analogy, but squatting on a Bosu ball also isn't really good, or squatting in really wobbly shoes, for example. You're gonna bleed power, and that's essentially what's happening with an overhead press. And so your ability to progress your shoulders is gonna be limited, or depends on how much stability you can create throughout your body. So yeah, that's basically my issue. And so yeah, I recommend, if you have trouble with the standing press, switch it out for a seated dumbbell press or a seated shoulder press, or anything where you can really provide that stability. And I'm not the only one who found that it tends to be easier to progress that way. So it might just be the exercise variation, but I don't think so. I think it's something has to do with the shoulder press itself that's sort of limiting. Obviously, another advantage of the shoulder press is that, not obviously, but you're working your delts and triceps a little better or differently, because you can push your head through, and in that position, your delts have to work. Your middle delt has to work a little bit more than if you're doing a seated shoulder press and you're pressing like this. You can't get this range of motion here, so you're gonna lose a certain amount of stimulation in your middle and rear delts, I think, also, and your long head. Your long head is working here the most, and it's not going to be as engaged if you're just pushing like this. So yeah, that's another advantage of the standing press, but you have to weigh that against what you want. And just try it out and switch it up, and don't be stubborn and say, oh, I have to do the standing press. And like I used to, I just was grinding away at it for way too long, and I was not making progress. And eventually I said, fuck it, I'm gonna throw it out. I'm just gonna do like a seated shoulder press, even though it's more of a bodybuilder movement, and I don't consider myself like a bodybuilder exactly. But ever since then, I've been making a lot more gains. So yeah, just that's all I wanted to say.